Now comes the most difficult of all mating procedures, the famous mate with knight and bishop. With optimal play, you need from the worst position 33 moves. So accuracy is required. Otherwise your opponent will claim a draw based on the 50 move rule. Even famous, very strong grandmasters have failed to deliver mate with knight and bishop. So you should make sure that you really understand the methods and know the technique by heart. I start with the procedure to force the defending king from the wrong into the right corner, which is an integral part of the whole procedure, and you must know it by heart. Otherwise, it is extremely difficult to find it over the board. Even famous players have failed to do so. Mate can only be delivered in the two corners the bishop controls. So with a light squared bishop, you can only mate the king in the A8 or H1 corner. And first it has to be driven out of the wrong H8 corner. Only the knight can control the H8 corner in such a way that our forces are able to drive the king away. So this is the reason why the given position is so fundamentally important. And the knight has to make the right moves. This is a general rule for this endgame. The knight does not move very often, as it is a bit clumsy, and it has to make the right moves. Making wrong knight moves may waste many moves. So be sure when moving the knight that it is really the right square and the right moment. From this given position, the knight must first control H8, and in the next step it must control F8 and then D8 to confine the defending king nearer and nearer the right corner. So logically it is clear that the knight should move to D7 next via E5 and then to B7 via C5. This makes the famous W, and you should remember this. The W maneuver is the important technique to force the defending king from the wrong into the right corner. You must remember this. Okay, with this information it's finally not so difficult. For tempo moves you should usually use your bishop, and the king will just be used to follow the defending king to the left to help confining it. With black to move it would not change much. Black would move king g8, we would make a tempo move with bishop, let's say bishop g6, but it doesn't really matter, just on the b1 h7 diagonal. Then the king goes back to f8, we play bishop h7, and we have reached the game one move later. King e8 is only move, and now the knight starts its famous W maneuver, giving black's king a choice. King f8 is relatively weaker, as white is then just able to confine the king nearer the right corner. And it's now basically the same as before, just shifted 2 files to the left, meaning that fh8 is now f8, and the rest is basically the same. King d8, we follow the king, and now 2 possibilities again. King c8, the knight just continues with his W maneuver. In this case the king is already confined in the corner, and the last faster mating will follow. We'll see soon. And after king d8, then the bishop has to confine the king, of course. What to do now? You don't know, so consider a tempo move with the bishop. It will do the job. Yeah, this doesn't help as the king cannot escape. The knight controls a6 and the king is confined. And now one mating procedure is, for example, like this. But we will see this mating fast slower soon. King d8. Now the knight follows the confinement, and we have again confined the king near the corner. So let's go back to this moment. King on e8. Of course the bishop has to stop the king. It shall not escape. Now you can consider a tempo move or knight c6, knight c5 immediately. The W maneuver is continued, and now I'll show you the mating phase more slowly. The W maneuver is finished. The king is confined near the corner. And now comes the final phase, the mating. The knight moves to c5. If you go to a6 immediately, then it would be stalemate, of course. This would be a horrible mistake. So, and the king cannot really move, so consider a tempo move. And again, it does the job. And black's king is mated. So king f8 was relatively easy to refute. We just continued the procedure, always the same procedure, until the final mating phase, which was not so difficult to master as well. The really important case is king d8. Black's king wants to escape into the corner a1. In that case, we would have to start the whole mechanism again, and it would take too many moves, maybe, to reach the mate within the 50 move rule. Or it could try to escape back to the h8 corner. So you must know the following by heart. The king has to follow, and despite this try to escape, you must continue the W maneuver with the knight. Every other move with the knight is wrong, in my sense. And yeah, now the king tries to escape, but you can construct a barrier which ensures that bishop and knight can indeed deliver mate. Oh, excuse me, this should be green. Black's king cannot escape to the safe a1 corner and is cut off near the right dangerous corner. Now we just make the barrier tighter and tighter. And black's king must retreat to the back rank, and we have reached our goal. Yeah, we have already seen the procedure from this point on, but I'll of course repeat it for your convenience. You could play knight c5 immediately, or tempo move the bishop, doesn't matter. Now you continue the W maneuver. This is the remaining rest. King b8 doesn't change much. You just come with king and you construct the usual cutoff. And king d8, you continue the W maneuver. And now the final mating phase. Knight c5. What to do now? Okay, you already know it. Tempo move this bishop. And it is mate. After all, it's not as difficult as it first seemed to be, or? Repeat it. Play it against Fritz until you really can beat it, even when you are very short of time. Or test it at the club with your friends until you really are able to master it. And you will never forget the W maneuver, I am sure, so that if this really happens in a crucial practical game, I hope that you will succeed, and then your team will win 4.5, 3.5, and the match will not be 4-4. Of course, next I must show you how to force the defending king to the edge or in the dangerous corner. This will be dealt with in the next video.